Today's matchup, KingZone DragonZ, KT Rolster. Beginning of the end. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Spring Split. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2018. Yes, it is time for the one you've all been waiting for. I am still Atlas, this is still Papa Smithy, and KT versus KingZone. What did we do to deserve this? We must have been good boys this year, Papa Smithy.
We got through 76 other best of threes to get back to this, did we, Atlas, for KT versus KingZone, a rematch of the Casper Cup final. Went to all 5 games. In the first round robin, this was not close, we should mention.
No, it wasn't.
KT rolled over and KingZone rolled over them. But in the second round robin with KT, largely still being KT, but being one of our top 3 teams, these are the 3 teams that are guaranteed playoffs. We've already seen the FLICKR Freaks pick up a victory, and now KT Rolster, after losing their recent series to KSV, wants to go full KT and pick up an upset win over KingZone DragonZ. KingZone, if they win 2-0, are guaranteed a grand final spot and thus are guaranteed top 2 in LCK Spring 2018.
Yeah, and we'll see whether they can do it. KT Rolster, of course, like you say, struggling against KSV. It was 3 games. It was relatively close, and that Karma Varus composition came online at a time where not a lot of us were actually expecting it, to be honest. That composition was played expertly well from KSV, and KingZone actually struggling their most recent victory against the Rocks Tigers. You remember game number 1, 63 minutes or something, an absolute epic.
And this, of course, the text the KingZone fans want to read. If KingZone wins 2-0, they secure first spot. We are in the gauntlet system in the LCK. 5 teams make playoffs. 4th plays 5th in a best of 3. The winner plays the 3rd place team in a best of 5. 2nd in a best of 5. And then we finish it off with KingZone DragonZ. If they win 2-0, playing the winner of that gauntlet. So they are in a great spot to guarantee first today. And if they lose, they're still in a great spot to guarantee first next week. But KT Rolster want to close the gap. If they can get above a FLICKR Freaks, they skip an entire best of 5. They could still fall down, but KT Rolster are looking strong. This is a matchup they desperately want to win.
Yeah, and they've got a very similar run towards the end of the season as well, so going to be neck and neck between FLICKR and KT. But let's start over the side of KingZone, and it is going to be Peanut in the jungle, no cuz this time around. This is the KingZone you've seen slaughtering other opposition, but maybe not in their most recent series. This is going to be so exciting to see how it's going to go against KT Rolster. And yes, I stumbled a bit because using that word is a dangerous one in this matchup.
3 series at the Gangnam Stadium. By the end, they were just powering on, trying to end games at every moment. And like you mentioned, they looked susceptible against Rocks. They looked like there was actually some counterplay to them after blowing away BBQ and SKT earlier in the piece a week ago. Khan, of course, the only top laner now that Rascal is no longer going to be playing as decided by the KingZone board. He will have his matchup against Smeb that, of course, everyone is going to be hyped to see. 2 of the best top laners in the world. KT Rolster, don't rush yourself, but there's some excitement about the roster that they are bringing today because they are going to make a change that I think some fans will really enjoy.
Yeah, I think you certainly will. And Papa Smithy, you are a very cruel, cruel man because Score is still going to be in the jungle. The man is fantastic, but Yukal is the one you're talking about. Going to be taking the throne in the mid lane. Pawn no longer going to be the starter against KingZone this time. The first time Yukal has seen this level of opposition so far in the LCK. He's undefeated at the moment, but the opposition has not been KingZone DragonZ.
And after dropping that series to KSV, they bring out Yukal, this young prodigy, to play against BDD, our resident previous young prodigy.
Yeah.
Suddenly BDD is the old experienced hand, and Yukal is a young player and a gun for his title. Smeb versus Khan is probably the 2 best top laners in the world, battling it out. And these are some of the best teams in the world. This should be one hell of a best of 3.
Exactly, and only suffering that loss against Rox 2-0 since the 2-0 loss to Kingzone is KT. They're still picking up wins left, right, and center, some of them being extraordinarily fast and extraordinarily impressive. The KSV one victory that they had in their last game had some Smeb Rumble involved in it as well, and some of those equalizers looked so damn good.
But if you take Rumble into Khan, that could be painful. There's a lot of good matchups into the Rumble in the top lane especially, so this will be a really interesting one. Different ideologies for both teams, but two of our best early game teams. The FLICKR Freaks also in the conversation. A lot of consistency on both. We got some pretty good pentagons going on as well.
Yeah, they're not exactly the most uniform pentagons, but Mata at least sticking his head out for KT Rolster above Gorilla, who's been trying his very best to get KDA, but he just seems to be focused a lot of the time.
Saw some great stuff from Mata in that SKT series, occupying space on the Braum. Like you mentioned, they did stumble against KSV, who were deserving the 2-1 victory over KT Rolster. Will we see 27 KT and the Game 1 hype turn into a 3-game loss, or will we see 2018 KT has had more consistency? But the fans will wonder. If you look at the history and you include Spring, things look rosy for the side of KT. BDD and Cuz came into lineup in 2017 in the summer season. So if you look at that, it's Kingzone DragonX 4-2.
Yeah, just pretty nuts stuff. KT Rolster really wanting to try and get revenge. You mentioned the previous matchup. Kingzone DragonX looking to solidify that first place position and really start just training for their playoff match, which is going to start in Busan in that final. We're going to check out Yukao, of course, played against Kongdu and SKT. A game against SKT, though, the Talia was bloodthirsty and so incredibly good.
And what have we learned about Yukao? He has not been overawed in his 3 games on the LCK stage. Too aggressive, taking a blasting plant into 3 members and dying against SKT, but still a victory. A young player, a promising one. His champion pool was the big query before he debuted. So far, the Shurima, Bird, and also the Talia have been happy sources for him. His laning phase has been good, more solid than Pawn. His biggest criticism could be laning phase. But we'll move away from mid, we'll look at top.
There are so many key positions in this matchup. We're going to choose the top lane, and Khan, yeah, there are a lot of firsts, but he's not very good at taking damage.
There's just no one else to put next to these 2 players. If you go to China, there's some hype about the Shy, but we'll see how that goes. We see IG at an international event. Khan and Smeb are 2 legends of the top lane. This season, if you look at the numbers, very easy to look at Khan. Remember that Khan is still undefeated in best of series.
Yeah. Smeb as well, we mentioned his pocket picks. But it's Nar and Camille that they're looking at now. I'm waiting to see more of the exciting stuff because I feel like Red Side has gone up in priority in this particular matchup, as we are going to have 2 key positions this time. And Peanut, yeah, he's got a lot of damn good stats. If you were looking at this Peanut thinking, oh, he's just moved from SKT, this is a very different Peanut now.
And if they win 2-0, Peanut would have made it to 5 grand finals in a row of the LCK, stretching back all the way to 2016 spring. Not all of those were victories, of course. But this is a matchup we've had many, many times. For many years, it's been who's the best jungler in the world? Was it Peanut or Score? And people would be shouting in one way or the other. Score's got the short sleeves on today. He's down to business. In the past, he definitely had the wood over Peanut in the first round robin. Peanut was off the chain. The fans are going to come out and vote, and 72% of them say it's going to be a Kingzone victory.
Yeah, KT Rolster not getting their fans out of bed in time to get these votes in, and there are a lot of them here for Kingzone DragonX. They have looked so damn good. I think that's where the easy money is. But you can never count out KT Rolster wanting to get themselves towards that second and potentially first. I'm not sure whether they're mathematically eliminated from that just yet.
And that's the best thing about KT. You can never count out KT, but you can never count on KT
Exactly.
either.
In fact, as soon as your chips are in their hands, it's going to be a difficult time for you no matter which side of the matchup you're on. But here's Champ Select, and Rise is going to be the first one removed. It's Kingzone taking it away from Yukao.
I wanted to first pick it on the blue side, and we're going to have some mid lane champion pool pinch already. We just see a lot of approach here. Of course, this is all of Yukao's effective champion pool at the competitive level gone, so I guess he's done.
Yep.
Maybe we can sub in Pawn now?
It's over. Yep, we're going to have to sub in Pawn. In fact, there might be a pause.
We're getting real spicy in terms of mid lane bans. Are we going to see 6 mid lane bans? That would be hype.
Yep, I think Sion has to go next.
But who's going to ban the Sion? Because you'd imagine KT Rolster will have to be the team to ban Sion. Kingzone love flexing that pick.
Yeah. Still a few options there in the mid lane if you go down the list, but we're certainly getting to the bottom end of it. If you look at what Pawn's been playing, there's certainly a lot of other choices, and Kassadin's going to be banned away. We're going for the 6 mid lane bans.
Which on paper should suit the more experienced player in BDD, as UCal has only had those 3 games on stage and 3 mid lane bans, given that mid lane Sion, what Kingzone has been playing, does leave everything open, everything outside of mid laners. That means the Olaf is going to be running around, and best of luck, Score. Now you're going to have to deal with the Ragnarok when it comes to those invades from Peanut.
He has his pick of the litter, though, and the Caitlyn is going to be available. KT actually looking over at the Xayah instead as the option.
And this already feels like we have 3 Infernal Drakes guaranteed, because this is a spicy draft already.
Oh, yeah.
The WMDs available on both sides. As we're going to see some hovers. The mid lane champion pool, again, is very, very interesting to consider, because almost everything we've seen in recent series already gone, as Peanut was clearly watching our first series.
Shout out to Mowgli there on that one. Thankfully, FLICKR still won the game, so it's okay. But Varus, he's available as well. They've got so many options. Yeah, Braum could come in, and you've hidden both of your solo laners. Kingzone love to put power in their solos. But Anivia being... No. They've got to stop with the hovers.
Just having fun.
Stop with the hovers.
BDD's certainly having fun. We'll see what happens here in the first round. I'd love to see no mid laners taken, and then we could have some more bans. And then who knows what comes next?
Exactly. Who are we going to be picking? Maybe we are going to have a Zed in the mid lane, because there's going to be 10 bans on mid laners, but this is the matchup into the Xayah Rakan.
Sejuani is usually what you want to take into Olaf, unless you're attacking the Olaf with something like a Nidalee. So, given that Sejuani's been big for Score, this is the pick you take it. You could also go a mid laner and start banning mid laners. And it seems like KT is going to blink first. The game of mid lane chicken has been won by the side of Kingzone, as now KT Rolster are going to start banning mid laners, you'd imagine, who can lane into the Syndra.
Well, I mean, the Corki's still available if you're looking at top-tier mid laners that have been picked a lot, despite the mid lane being pinched. Still a few things that they can take away that a lot of people have played, but the LeBlanc also... Of course, a ban that you'd expect in our last series, our resident LeBlanc players being there.
But do you have to ban something like a Fizz now? Because there is Fizz available into the Syndra.
Echo is also available.
Exactly, and Echo is something that BDD has played very well. So
fantastic against Unleashed Power.
Will we have 5 mid lane bans from KT Rolster? Looking very, very likely.
As the top lane is actually getting focused out here, you can imagine Kingzone probably looking at Sejuani for a ban away from Score, or maybe they just leave it open and get rid of a Gnar or something like that.
The Echo.
They listened to me, so that's good. But that is 8 mid lane bans so far. Man, BDD, we know that this guy can play basically anything. What is it going to be?
I'd like to see a Sejuani ban from Kingzone, because KT have shown a lot of mastery on that champion. You don't think the Score is going to go super focused on the 1v1. They're going to ban the Sejuani. I think that's really good from Kingzone. Now everything gets more and more risky for KT when it comes to the jungle pick. What do you last pick? Do you last pick the jungle or the top laner? Depends how risky the jungle is going to be, you imagine.
I have a feeling jungle would make the most sense and try and get Smeb the best matchup that you could find. Gangplank is still available, though, and has had a lot of priority. Zac being considered. This would be a lot of late game power, and Zac into Olaf doesn't feel like a great time early on.
Just because he has to use his jump to actually farm the camps. So if Olaf finds him, he's flashing out.
Yeah.
But there weren't great choices, of course, when Olaf is being talked about. Kingzone needs to start blind picking when it comes to top lane and need to answer the mid lane. You mentioned the Gangplank, and Khan has been on that champion a lot recently.
Yep, feels like a pretty obvious choice because we've seen it blind picked all the time as well.
They would rather not give lane priority in 3 lanes, and the Gangplank usually represents lane priority for KT. See what the answer is to the Syndra. BDD has something new. The Zed is an outside chance here, but they have pretty low magic damage, so it'd be risky. That would be the legacy pick, the Zed or Bedchan. It's already starting for a lot of fans.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunately for the Zed, the orbs will follow him if he jumps back into shadows and things like that, but Xerath is a fringe pick as well. He could go towards that and just basically forfeit the lane against the Syndra with the ability to still farm.
But forfeit the lane worked so well for BBQ against SKT when they took Ziggs in a similar scenario and just farmed from range. A lot of options here. You can go tier very happily into the Archangels or the Ludens for a bit of extra poke. is the sort of champion that gets kidnapped and dies, though. So there's going to be a lot of options.
They've got 2 of those, in fact, and no Tahm Kench to give them that pseudo-mobility.
And look at this.
Oh my.
We're fighting.
This is the Smeb that we all want every single time. None of this team fight Smeb that we've been hearing about. No, it's the split-pushing Fiora, and he just wants to go in on Khan this game.
But the thing is, it's not the best matchup ever for Fiora. The Gangplank can fight back really well, can go into Sterix in a pretty native fashion. Needs some help to get going, but of course you will always take Fiora in the extended trades, and the rest of the team was about pick and about team fight. They're going to try and vary it up. If Smeb hits his items and Gangplank can't enter lane, there will be good news stories for KT. Otherwise, you do worry a little bit with the investment in the Fiora in the final pick, a pick that largely hasn't worked on patch 8.4.
Yeah, it's true. We did see it work for the first time in the hands of Keen in game number 1 of a FLICKR versus Jinair. But yes, I'm glad you let me know because, look, the 1v1 battle, you always have to give it to the duelist herself, but it can be very frightening when Khan just wants to nope out of a lot of those.
And he nopes out with GP10 items and non-committal Qs in the laning phase. Not necessarily going to be the most lane control for the Fiora, but obviously going to be decent if Olaf has good lanes to run around. We know how Peanut likes to play. BDD debuts the Xerath. First Xerath we've had on the season as well. A pick that with all the changes to the mana items, it get buffed indirectly. Bot lane is going to be the Lovers bot lane from KT. Kingzone DragonX going to be breaking out the Leona to follow the Rakan, but also to start baiting out that W, the riposte from Fiora. So Team 5 Fiora not looking good.
Yeah, so a lot of options for Kingzone, especially in the early game, but KT not without their choices as well. This is the hype matchup that we've all been waiting for. These are the drafts that we've really wanted as well. Let's get into game number 1, Kingzone versus KT. Okay, as we all make our way onto the Rift, Kingzone fans, of course, very vocal, and we've got a full stadium here once again, Soli Stadium.
And ready for a hype matchup. Smeb has already played 17 games of Fiora in his career, usually a niche pick for most players. 10-7, played it at Worlds in 2016. Always been a big pick for him. First time on the season, though, so he's going to be visiting the Fiora this game.
Yeah, first time he's played it with the Kleptomancy.
I like how both of them have gone Ancient Coin. We've got 3 Ancient Coins on the Rift.
Yeah, probably very similar as far as the build path is concerned in the rune pages as well, given the Kleptomancy.
This fan is loving the fact that we have the oldest player and the youngest player on the Rift, as we have Score, the
and
oldest
Yukal.
player, all the way from the first ever OGN Invitational Tournament, and Yukal, born in 2001, January 30th, on the Rift together. KT's trying to stop them getting to lane, but Peanut just there to escort them.
Actually slow him down a little bit as he was just maneuvering his way over. It was a cute little ward to just spot them getting into that brush. Quite earlyly put down. Smarter's going to get shielded daybreaked. KT continue to try and get some control here in this lane, but at the moment, very even. That's exactly what the Leona Varus is supposed to do. Supposed to be able to stand up against the Lovers duo.
And the Leona ult value is just off the charts important in this game because you can ult Syndra, you can ult Fiora, you will try to follow the Rakan with the Zenith Blade. Both the solo lanes, but they do have to kind of stand and deliver. And if you hit that ult onto Yukal, you'll probably have to switch over to Cleanse later in the game because of the threat there. So the Leona pick is definitely very, very strong in this case. And you were right, there's going to be double Klepto. We kind of expected that with the recent trends of Gangplank and Fiora players.
Yep, Smeb going into the very strong Resolve tree this time around, and Khan is going to be going Sorcery, as we do see. So probably not going to be wanting to fight. That's called opting out of getting shot ever.
And Score jungle topside, started at red buff. He's going for a very creative path this game. Trying to dodge out of any sort of aggro coming through from the Olaf. If you look at the path, red buff into Raptors, into Wolves, into Scuttle, and then he can start on his bottom side jungle, and the respawns will start to be there as he power farms. So it's very much a power farm route from Score, looking to avoid Olaf at every opportunity.
Yeah, and they're going to trade Rift Scuttlers, so you're right, not going to see each other just yet, as Yukal
2015 summer, my first season in the LCK GBM on about 4 teams ago on Jin Air.
Oh my goodness, versus Easyhoon before he went to China?
Yep.
That's insane.
Twisted
Fate.
Before he was a world champion. 2015 summer. Well,
that's been a long time. Which is crazy, because I was just watching FLICKR last night, playing it in solo queue.
Well, this year's all about, being the beginning of the end according to OGN, and the fact that the OGN days of broadcasting the LCK ending, so we have all those great stats to draw upon from the past. The past does inform the future, because we see these champions come back and they look super powered, and then people remember the old school counter picks, and that's where things get fun. Caitlyn becoming a first pickable champion, people remember, wait, Ashe was always the champion. You took into Caitlyn, and we'll see more Ashe in that matchup as the Caitlyn priority stays high.
Yep, already Prey and Deft both playing the Ashe in the LCK thus far this season.
Maybe even in this series eventually, especially if we go to 3 games. There's probably not going to be 3 games of 8 mid lane bans.
Well, this is the thing. Is UCal going to be subbed out and we're going to have Pawn back, and then things may well go to 80 carry bans? And then we might have a very interesting thing where it's Draven versus Jinx or something like that, which doesn't sound great for the Jinx.
Get map control as KT have a lot of options. There's a bit of brawling down the bot lane. Map control and the threat of a Zac and also a Syndra being off the map is very, very powerful in terms of engage. That makes BDD having to position very, very defensively if they lose map control.
Well, at the moment, the mid lane is extraordinarily close. Top lane, not so much. Khan happy to just wander underneath the turret. Gets the passive onto Smeb.
He might die.
Has to be so careful. Oh my god.
He was in single health. He was at 7 HP, I believe.
Calculated.
Okay.
Man.
Well,
that's called, yeah, that's playing with fire.
I did mention the matchup is not a very fun one for Fiora. She has to queue in, and then you take an auto, which applies the passive, and then he queues you on the back end. So it's kind of like you're playing Tristana against Caitlyn in the laning phase when it comes to the Kleptomancy trades.
Yep, and now that a Sheen has been picked up, as well as the Ruby Crystal to add insult to injury, it's only going to get more difficult. And when do you ever see a Gangplank having fun in a lane matchup? Basically not ever.
Not in this meta. Obviously in previous metas against Shen and things like that, he was able to be very strong against Poppy as well. But in this meta, where everyone plays combat champions, much less fun. It's level 6 first.
Looking for another lunge. So, yeah, there it is. Peanut biding his time, but he will actually run in here. There's a cannon barrage. Smeb gets the flash off. With the grand challenge, he will be able to escape.
Very well done by Peanut, ganking his old former 2016 Rocks Tigers teammate in Smeb. 4 Rocks Tigers on the rift for this game.
Smeb, the lonely one, feeling like his friends are ganging up on him. Khan is going to have this full minion wave to deal with. Okay, they don't have any vision on where Peanut is, but they know he has left. Can move down towards the bottom side. We know that Smeb is going to be okay, but with the wave in that position, he has to play so respectfully.
Get the confirmation it's going to be a tier build, and we have seen basically, I would say, 85 to 90% tier when it comes to Lost Chapter, maybe even higher, maybe 95% has been the choice of these 20% CDR items. The bridge is what we talk about there, in that you don't have to wait till you hit 1100 golds back. You can buy a tier with the 750, and then from there you go into a nice bridge into Lost Chapter. Builds really naturally. The shield strength is at its strongest on patch 8.4, so you get a lot of protection in a meta where health items like the Leandries are deprioritized compared to the past. So basically we're seeing 100% usage of the Archangels into Seraphs whenever possible. Scores top side.
Yeah, he's going to launch his way in. He's got the kidnap if they want it, but he's going to bonk Khan in the head, and that's first blood going to Smeb. There's the flash in, and Peanut's just going to recklessly swing, and that's a dead Smeb. So, look, we're evened it out, but first blood going over to the Fiora is a big deal, and no gold really going to Khan apart from the assist.
And Khan has been, dying more recently on the Gangplank than he has in the past. They've been staunch in sticking with the Gangplank despite it not being Khan on lane control. Jace and Riven, of course, things he's famous for. We saw him die at the Krug camp on Tuesday. We see him now just kind of invite a situation where he did not need to be there, and through flash, he does die. Turns to lane. At least Peanut is there, like you mentioned, to pick up the trade kill, but had to invest his flash and ultimate to make it happen.
Yeah, also means that the bottom lane can then play a little bit more aggressively. Deft and Marta getting a lot of respect out of Prey. As you can see, Ninja Tabi, the first pickup, with the only real damage item being the dagger, is great news. They do get the wave pushed into them. An extra vision was then claimed, so KT actually moving Martyr around to get vision control. That's going to be how they utilize understanding where the pressure had left the map.
If you want to understand how to attack Kingzone, the most reliable strategy in the 2018 season, of course there aren't many, they haven't dropped many games, has been to attack Prey and Gorilla. Prey and Gorilla had a really hard time against the Rocks Tigers earlier this week, and usually they will go super defensive in their choices, so they will go for the likes of an Ezreal Alistar lane and just have the Alistar dodge lane, the Ezreal farm from range. I mean, so many games of Ezreal, 15 games of Ezreal from Prey this season. The Leona is much more committal. The Leona is the sort of champion who only really works in one way or has no laning phase if she's going to be defensive. So definitely the sort of area you can attack, and building around Deft and Martyr is a pretty damn good strategy for KT. While it might not necessarily have been the pre-10-minute plan after they drafted Olaf into, Zac into the Olaf, I still feel like a bot lane focus would behoove KT Rolster.
Yeah, and also bot lane focus means that you've got that insurance policy. We know Xayah works extraordinarily well when you move later into the game. Depending on how Prey builds, he will still be a fighting force, but if it's more on-hit Varus without an Infinity Edge, that makes things hard, because it's normally Infinity Edge 4th item, if at all. So there is a window where Deft will have his Infinity Edge done after the Essence Reaver Rapid Fire Cannon, that KT will be very, very strong with the consistent damage.
You talk about the item spikes. Again, my kind of issue there is that they're less teamfight ready with the Fiora. If they were going for the Fiora 3-item Xayah and not a Fiora, a more teamfight oriented champion, I think they would be in a great scenario. But having gone elsewhere, Score is just trying to zone Khan away, knowing his flash is down, means that the timing is going to be interesting here. I feel like Rage Blade, Trinity Force power spikes, the first item spikes for Kingzone, the start of the good news, and unless Fiora can really run away with the top lane, it's unclear when the good news will end when it comes to the 4v4 we expect to see a lot of.
Yeah. Theoretically, Xayah will be strong. You're right. Got me a little bit stumped. Maybe it will be just use Martyr's famous vision control to get KT picks and then utilize Smeb being able to keep people at bay, assuming he can get himself ahead. First blood is good news for the Fiora. We haven't seen it be ultimately fantastic so far in the LCK, apart from today.
Score's just role-playing in the brush, just chilling there, waiting for Khan to finally walk up. Surely he wouldn't stay here this long.
Yeah, they're going to have to back. Not sure whether they know that Score is still there, but Kingzone feeling pretty comfortable to just take this first Mountain Drake.
Kingzone have control of the bot lane, so happy to push up. No sign of Score, so they're going to take the first Drake. Like you say,
easy peasy. No one's taken. They know exactly what's going on. As Peanut's going to continue just to put vision down. The cheeky ward was useful for KT, but useful enough to stop all of the objectives being taken under their noses.
Death's up into Ninja Tabi, which does get a lot of value against the enemy team. Doesn't give you CC reduction, and there's insane Wombo CC. Speaking of CC.
Yeah, speaking of Wombo CC as well. Skull feels a bit silly. Stretch Armstrong not going to get the stretching strike at all. And Kingzone just going to continue farming underneath this turret.
These lane ganks not working out for Score, who now is falling pretty far behind in terms of camps, about 5 camps behind the Olaf.
Ravenous Hydra is done for Smeb. And are we looking for a particular moment in this Fiora Gangplank matchup where it gets better for Fiora? Or does it not get better for Fiora unless it can be ganks towards the top side?
I think definitely the all-in trades from the Fiora can be big. I think a Phage to start getting the Rage passive and the movement speed to keep up with the GP. 2 items will have the ability to take an aggressive trade, force Gangplank out of lane, and then take the turret with the Trinity Force, for example, giving the turret threat that wasn't there in the old Black Cleaver builds in previous patches.
Yeah.
But all in, and in a minion wave especially, when you get full value out of the Ravenous Hydra AoE lifesteal, there are some good trades to be taken for Smeb. But in most cases, Khan can just disengage in a multitude of ways and keep up the gold generation. So kind of action needs to be on Smeb and KT to put down the control wards and actually force Khan to give up farm and thus overextend, because if he's just sitting under turret, Fiora's not doing anything.
Yeah, proactive play gonna have to be the way. Khan doesn't quite link up the barrels just yet. We'll find another one, and then we're going to be fine. Moves himself ahead in farm by quite a margin over a creep wave. So Smeb still needing to try and catch back up. Doesn't quite know what to do right here as BDD is going to be delivered the blue buff. Rift Herald not being looked at by either side just yet. Very empty jungles on both sides as Peanut and Score have been farming like hoovers. Back is now going to come in. Score looking for a little bit more, but he feels more comfortable in the jungle.
The teleport's actually picked up by Yukal. Maybe it's time to pile in the bot lane with the Zac as kind of the call from KT. I think cleanse will be the eventual decision because there's a lot to cleanse for the Syndra. But for now, at least, going for the global.
Peanut positioning himself aggressively, finding some wards here as well as we're going to get pings on exactly where he is. Score is down here though, wants to grab a blue buff for Yukal, who in the mid lane has been very even with BDD throughout this game.
A very quiet early game. A couple of kills, but FarmFest in the top lane, which slightly favors the GP as he abuses Klepto a little bit better than the Fiora can.
Yeah.
Score's game plan has been to opt away from the Olaf wherever possible. They know he's bot side.
Yeah, but do they know that Score is bot side on the other side of the rift?
They can infer it, but they don't know for sure till now.
Yeah, Score is going to charge the Elastic Slingshot but not find an opportunity. The Ragnarok there, they don't want to engage onto Peanut, so Kingzone just clear out the minion wave. And it's once again just going to be a stalemate. You can just feel like the onus is on KT to make something happen, despite the fact that they don't have the early game farming jungler like what Peanut has. The Score might need to use the Elastic Slingshot now to get himself out, but no. Just a cute little reckless swing as Yukal was moving on over as well. Bottom lane getting the push is important for KT to try and get control here as Mountain Drake is going to be the second as well as the first. Not going to be up for another few minutes yet.
Yeah, the impetus advantage of who needs to push things in the early game is very misleading this game. It's very hard to calculate. I can tell you that Kingzone now with Rageblade and Trinity Force are pretty online to fight. For KT, they can't afford to lose turrets, and well, they're increasing the pace of the game, as you can see.
Yep, here's the teleport play as Riposte comes in, Cannon Barrage comes down, but Yukal not able to finish off the kill just yet. Peanut has to just opt out of this fight because Score's there with him. That's going to be another kill, another solo laner picking one up as well for KT.
Nice teleport coming in from Yukal. We knew he wanted to be proactive. Speaking of proactivity.
Yeah, they want to get themselves a Ragnarok cooldown by the looks of things as Peanut, he's holding on to it. Not worried about that one at all. As BDD shove this one to the turret. KT going to lose a bit of pressure in the mid lane, meaning that Syndra not going to be able to continue any push topside.
There's no kill threat from the Kidnap because of the Ragnarok. We get to see the replay. Khan finally walked down the lane long enough, and that's when Fiora can start things and Syndra can finish them. As we do see two flashes used here by KT, so a trade up in terms of summoners. It is a kill over the way of KT. Small lead, but it can translate into more as it does accelerate the second item for Smeb when Gangplank will really have to be pretty defensive with any of his lane placements in top.
Well, at the moment, he actually is going to be able to place a lot of wards. Nomad's Medallion has been completed. This has a little bit of an eye spy and gets Smeb, but Score, like you say, waiting around.
Both sides baiting. I love how this is very much an equal play.
And the Ragnarok is still off cooldown as Peanut was very, very patient. Now Smeb trying to get out the Kidnap on top of Khan, but those vitals are not going to get hit on, and Mata has to use a teleport. Deters BDD, but he didn't actually invest a summoner.
Yeah, that's an extra summoner used by the side of KT as Mata is out of lane. Leona roaming on the bot side to cement vision control around the Drake. That should be the reward for the side of Kingzone. Ironically, the one place there is vision for the side of KT does catch Leona, so no gank in the mid lane. All the action through top side in this carry versus carry matchup. End result, 400 gold lead. Those parlays doing the difference for the Gangplank.
Yeah, you can see KT understand exactly what has to happen this game. Smeb needs to get into a position where he can just straight up win the trades. He's got that phage now that you were talking about, his own warding system in the Nomad's Medallion quest completed. It still feels like Khan happy to just continue being Gangplank. Move himself slowly to 6 items. In goes Kingzone. Yukal, he's going to be the target. They pile on top and they tank it. Peanut doesn't even lose half of his health bar, and that's why you don't just throw away your flash on the Syndra.
And also uses the teleport, so it doesn't have cleanse available, hasn't switched over to it yet either. And so it's free food for the Leona and friends to take down. Mountain Drake should be straightforward as well, although Mata finally is going to be battling for control around the bot side. Yukao's actually, for now, going to go the Ghost to try to ghost away from the initial CC. It's another way you can approach it. But good capitalization, and Kingzone have been very smart at tracking the summoners and being able to play around power troughs. Power trough with the flash down for the Syndra. Nice kill to Kingzone.
Yeah, also giving the gold to, I feel like, the appropriate member of the team as well. I mean, getting Peanut super fed on the Olaf means that they can transfer the power all the way around the map and get it exactly where they need it. So like you were saying, playing around these power troughs, but that's also going to spike at different times as well for all of these members of Kingzone. So now with all of that opportunity to just put Peanut where he wants to try and get a kill, he can be backed up by the rest of his team.
Triple Mountain Drake as well when it comes to the wave clear of the Xerath and the Gangplank, but also the Baron speed. Those are the sort of things that you have to calculate, and they're much more intangible than other buffs. You know what a certain amount of AD and AP looks like in terms of damage as a pro player, but the extra speed at finishing objectives is something that is always a little bit harder to calculate. More factors involved in that.
Oh, Deft and Mata are actually playing really far up in this lane. Yukao moving his way down. He knows that he's in vision, but they just want to guarantee this turret. Score's position was well known. Deft taking loads of damage from the cannon barrage, and that's going to save the outer turret. One of the fantastic things about having a Gangplank is you can just order in that orbital strike.
Smeb is ready to go on the all-in, but soon it will be Khan's flash up. The rest of his team is playing bot side, Peanut's top side. Smeb has to show respect, can't look for aggressive trades. And now first pick might actually come for the side of Kingzone on the top side of the map.
Yeah, Smeb having to use the lunge gets out of the way of the undertow, but that's a full wave that he's going to lose on that turret. First brick does go down on the bottom side of the map, but it's 20 minutes and 20 seconds into the game.
They know about this. That's why the teleport's coming in, but they might be too late with the double mountain.
Yeah, Smeb is going to arrive, but it's down to 2,000 health. In goes Smeb. He's trying to find it, but no. Peanut grabs himself the Baron, and now Kingzone, can they turn this one around? Smeb in so much trouble. He's just going to get shot by Khan. Yukao as well. He's just taking the whole ult from BDD. And Score gets himself out, uses the kidnap of all things to do it. KT lose the Baron.
So early in the game, the double mountain does come up trumps. If it wasn't double mountain, Zach would have been there to at least threaten a steal. Good, assertive call by Kingzone. One of their best qualities as a team has always been their Baron and Dragon control. And they can back away with a very early buff, and now the ability to push lanes and pick up their first turret of the game.
Yeah. Looked academic from Kingzone, and let's have a look at it again, just rushing it down.
It's an early teleport from Smeb because he's the first one to read that this could be happening. KT were playing around the bottom side. That's where they were strong. Peanut was looking to gank the Fiora, chased Fiora out of lane, and surprised KT with how fast the Baron came in. Half-hearted ult there from Smeb. Half-hearted use to make the let's bounce work for Score either. And neither of them come up to anything. A nice bit of gold for Kingzone, and also probably the outer ring of turrets. So nice injection to increase the pace of the game.
Yeah, should be enough. And as you may have noted, the Xayah nowhere to be seen in that fight. Deft was actually farming minions in the mid lane for almost the majority of that situation. Smeb will at least be able to clear up all of these creeps on the bottom side, avoid that outer turret going down, but the rest of KT need to be invested into the mid lane. So much vision control. The whole river is lit up by Kingzone. Know exactly when Smeb is going to be rotating over. No teleport, of course. They're just going to lose objective after objective. It feels with Sterix completed as well onto Khan that Smeb, I wouldn't even put my money on him in the 1v1 at this stage of the game.
And I wonder what Fiora's win rate is when the enemy team gets first Baron on patch 8.4. I'd say close to 0, because what that represents is that usually there's going to be a banner of command. We know how powerful teams are, being able to take objectives. Wrestling back the map control against an early Baron is so difficult, and you may never even get into a scenario where Trinity Force Gangplank has to deal with a Trinity Force on the Fiora. Seems like that's not going to happen, with the pace of the game being entirely controlled by Kingzone DragonZ.
Yeah. Kingzone now going to move that power towards the top side, inner turrets. Now under fire. Khan continues to push minions that are difficult to kill into Smeb, He's actually forced out of this lane. He's got another cannon creep. This tower, not long for the world. It's just going from bad to worse if you're a KT fan, but it's going from fantastic to fantastic for Kingzone. No longer do they look like that team that was somehow challenged by the Rocks Tigers. As in goes Score, they're looking for a desperation play. He's just getting smacked around, no one doing anything. And BDD is enough to deter them from doing anything. Deft almost just dies incidentally.
Yeah, so much damage they can zone away multiple people from out of range. That's what it's all about with the Xerath, outranging the Syndra. The Mountains, they push so damn fast. This Baron play has got them 6 turrets, soon to be 7.
Yeah, an inhibitor turret in the mid lane is going to go down. I don't see anything stopping them from just grabbing the inhibitor. Peanut is just being a bodyguard. Smeb has to use the riposte. Now that's on cooldown. And Khan finding the barrels, finding the damage. Inhib goes. They save the bottom outer turret. Sorry, inhibitor turret, but that's about all the good news I can find on the map for KT, Papa Smithy.
You get 1 Baron at 20 minutes. It turns into 7 turrets. The double Mountain working in overdrive in this game. And now KT with the Fiora, or as we mentioned a couple of times from draft onwards, being trivialized in a scenario like this and Gangplank being a lot more viable in a team fight. They might already have to start thinking about game 2, which is kind of a crazy thing to say when it's first versus third. For KT, this game happened around the bot lane. It happened around a lot of their awareness. The macro was so decisive by Kingzone that Deft might have blinked a couple of times and might end the game 0-0-0 in a loss.
Yeah, the power that they felt like they had with the Xayah Rakan just honestly wasn't there. Kingzone have drafted themselves just 5 champions that work better together. The Siege scenario with the Baron, 8.4, you need to always account for that because that's where so much of the power lies with when you're going to be making these plays. Fiora once again looking very disappointing. You're wondering why that was the pick.
You just think about what happened. We saw KT sitting in the bot lane, Syndra coming over, the Zac there as well. On the top side of the map, we saw Peanut zoning away the Fiora. That was the passage of play where a turret turned into just an assertive Baron, and the game ended. So it was just one passage of play. Reading the map better than your opponents that's allowed Kingzone to now pile on a 3rd mountain, which just feels rude.
Yeah. The next Baron should be pretty easy to take. You don't need to be a genius to figure it out.
Full penetration build outside of Sorcerer's Shoes coming through from the Xerath, who now, if he hits a team with his Q, does give an instant 3-second Grievous Wounds to the entire team, and that includes the Zac and the Fiora that do a heavy amount of healing.
Yep, not to mention they will lose a large majority of their health bar as well.
Oh yeah.
If Deft gets hit by that, there's no Merc Treads on that Xayah. He's taken pretty much true damage from this Xerath. So maybe he can at least clear out waves fast, but the problem is that if he does, what does he then do? Goes to try and find some jungle.
He backs away. He backs away and he goes to recall is what he does, which doesn't make for great reading for a KT fan, but there's no way he can go. There's no ability for them to go past the river. I think they probably will never go past the river this game.
No. It's, although if they're going to win this game, theoretically, they were going to do that. They need to go past the river.
I know. They're not going to win the game, Alex.
I feel like that's a spoiler that you shouldn't be throwing forward because, I mean, we're not given the results of the match.
Wait, you don't get that email? The script was there for you. Never mind. Anyway.
OGN doesn't trust me.
I like how you're more offended that you don't get trusted than the games are scripted.
You got to choose your battles. Peanut going to be able to take down a Rift Scuttler for what feels like almost no reason. Somehow there's this ward over the other side of the river when Papa told me that they weren't allowed to go across there. KT can't really swim very well this game. Inhibitor going to be respawning relatively soon. The battening down the hatches is the plan here for KT. But when does it get better?
The hatch is looking pretty flimsy, Atlas.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be amazed. KT Rolster have definitely amazed me in good and bad ways many times over the past 3 years.
That is true. But they're pinging down onto Smeb. He's got teleport available.
And Peanut can just make so many mistakes because he's got Ragnarok and he's ahead. So he just walks up, but speaking of mistakes.
Yep, Solar Flare comes in and Featherstorm has to be invested. Deft now has to play so far back as Peanut just weaves his way around. Score, not going to find anyone to attach the Stretching Strike to. Now Kingzone will be able to just peel back to the Baron. They know Every flash they get, everything is just super important because now UCAL and Def cannot be anywhere near this fight.
Can't even clears the ward to confirm they're on Baron, because guess what? It's gone.
And Peanut flashes in. By the looks, was that a flash? Yeah, he flashed in to get the smite. Sorry, I needed to double check because that was ridiculous.
I wonder if he thought a blast plant was going to respawn and he got the timer off. That looks silly, but still got the objective very, very expediently. And remember how they got 7 turrets without a banner of command? Now they have a banner of command, but sadly, not 7 turrets left on the Rift.
Yeah, not going to be able to get very much value out of it by the looks of things. How depressing for KingZone. The most first world problems.
Def would just really like to get 3 items.
Oh, I think he'd really like to be in the next game at this point.
You know what? I think KingZone will oblige soon.
Well, pushing up will be top lane by the looks of things. So much vision being controlled by KingZone. Got Trinity Force, Phantom Dancer, as well as the Ghostblade completed as the second couple of items for Khan.
And UCAL and Def both had to flash in that last fight, so the threats are also susceptible to the next round of ults from BDD and solar flares coming through from Leona.
Yeah, Gorilla having the absolute best time ever.
Peanut has just the most items, so we'll continue to face check.
Adaptive Helm, as well as the Warmogs, and has the armor now built up. His Infinity Edge finally came in, so yep. Yeah, Deft is ready to go. Ready to fight.
There's not a lot of armor, but unfortunately, the damage is so long range on BDD especially that don't really need much of a front line.
Well, Peanut, at least one of the Vitals is going to be taken, but it feels like Vitals is an odd word in this game. Because KingZone don't look like they have too many of them. Khan freely able to push this Baroned up minion wave towards the inhibitor turret on the bottom side. And here's Bannon. Bruce Banner having the easiest time ever, apart from the fact that he can get picked up and chucked down, so not going to get all that much value. I take it all back.
Khan being very respectful. He didn't actually walk up for any autos at the start of this play. Didn't know where Fiora was. Didn't want to die.
Just want to keep that pressure. Knows that there's no point being impatient. They're going to make it a 3-1-1 as Peanut is in the mid lane. They don't have a flash, but I mean, this tower's just going to go down. Khan can just shepherd his minions as in goes Score. They're looking for the fight onto the 3, but the solar flare's great. And Score, the kidnap's there, but he has no health. He just gets popped up in the sky because KT are dealing with all of the AoE raining down on top of them. It's like they don't even need to worry about actually being engaged on because there's a cannon barrage, then an ult from Azereth, and they can't do anything.
I got nothing to add. You succinctly put it in Atlas as KingZone is looking to close the game. Minion waves haven't grouped yet, but they're coming.
Finally, it's a double knock-up from Mata. He battle dances his way out, and I think he's going to wait on the fountain because the composition from KingZone feels dirty. They're not letting KT play League. And UCAL, he's actually just put right into the death chamber at the very end of this game. Def, no flash, no way out. Having an awful time. KingZone, on the other hand, feeling brilliant. Double kill for Khan as he joins his team at the end. 32 minutes into the game, KingZone show us that we could have an early night after all.
How to lose a game in one play will be the subtitle of game number 1. Super clean from the side of KingZone. They go top side. They get Fiora out of the top lane. They turn onto a Baron at 20 minutes, delete it with double Mountain Drake, and never looked like losing from there. Super clean from KingZone. They are 1 game win away from guaranteeing top 2 and their ticket to Busan on the 14th of April.
Yep, trying to eliminate all of the playoff games that they have to play going through the gauntlet. Of course, not many is looking like the answer for KingZone DragonX, and I have a feeling if they did get in there, they'd feel pretty good about the outcomes in a lot of them. But man, this team, after what was a pretty disappointing effort in a couple of the games against the Rocks Tigers for KingZone, you were asking questions of them. This game, you certainly weren't. From the draft onwards, the draft was clean. KT throwing some experiments in there, but not really getting the results that they wanted from the composition that they elected to choose.
KingZone are known for controlled aggression, but it was just aggression for 2 games. And it's BBQ, it looked fantastic against Rocks. It was exploited to some degree. Back to controlled aggression, back to decisiveness, back to winning ways for KingZone DragonX.
Yep. KT, back to the drawing board. They're going to have to figure out how to take down the juggernauts of KingZone, who have proven to be another Achilles heel on what is not a long list, but it's starting to form. KSV getting the number of KT, but also Kingzone. That is 3 in a row of very one-sided wins for this team after what was an epic Kesper Cup final before the season began.
Now, Kingzone DragonX have gelled. Now they look undefeatable. Can they make it 2-0 and go forward?
Well, we're going to be looking over there, guys. We are going to have a short break before we get there, of course. KT, going to be the ones really looking forward to having a little bit of time to relax, recoup, get themselves back in there. Are we going to have some substitutions? Is anyone going to come in on the side of KT that we maybe haven't seen yet? Not entirely sure, but after the break, we'll find out.
You took off your mask, now it's like you are some other guy.